If you've ever felt like you're drowning in data, you know that big data processing is, well, it's one of the biggest challenges out there. So, how do you build a massive factory to handle it all, but without the massive permanent price tag? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today with Amazon EMR. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down what Amazon EMR actually is. Then, we'll walk through what it looks like to run your very first job. From there, we'll jump into EMR Studio, the modern way to manage all this, and see how it can seriously boost your workflow. And finally, we'll wrap up with the security concepts you absolutely need to know. All right, let's start with the big picture. What is this thing? Honestly, the best way to think about EMR is as a pop-up factory that you build just for your big data jobs. So at its core, EMR, which stands for Elastic MapReduce, by the way, is a managed service. And managed is the key word here. It means AWS handles all the nasty, complicated setup of getting a bunch of computers, a cluster, to work together. It uses these incredible open-source tools we've probably heard of, like Apache Spark and Hadoop, to do the heavy lifting. But here's the magic trick. You build this factory, you run your production line, and then, and this is so important, you tear it all down when you're done. You only pay for what you use. So what are the pieces of this factory? Well, your workers on the factory floor are Amazon EC2 instances. Those are the virtual servers doing all the computation. For storage, you kind of have two types. There's the super fast temporary storage called HDFS that lives and dies with the cluster, and then there's Amazon S3, which is where your permanent data lives. Think of it as your long-term warehouse. And every good factory needs a foreman, right? That's a tool called Yarn, which is in charge of scheduling all the tasks and making sure everything runs smoothly. And of course, this whole operation is plugged right into the AWS ecosystem, working with services for security, networking, and monitoring. Okay, theory is great, but what does it actually look like to use this factory? Let's walk through a job from the very beginning all the way to the end result. It really is a pretty clean four-step process. First, you launch your cluster. This is you building the factory and hiring the workers. Then you submit your work. This is just a script that tells the factory, hey, take this raw material and turn it into this. While it's running, you can watch its progress, and once it's done, you grab your finished product from that S3 warehouse we talked about. And finally, and this is the step your wallet will thank you for, you terminate the cluster. That ephemeral use it and lose it design is what makes EMR so incredibly cost-effective. And when we say work, what does that look like? Well, here's a perfect example. It's not always super complex code. A lot of the time, it's a simple, powerful Spark SQL query just like this one. All this code is doing is digging through a mountain of restaurant violation data to find the 10 places with the most serious red violations. It's clear, it's direct, and it's an amazing way to get real answers from absolutely massive data sets. So you know how to submit a job, but how do you manage all of this? In the old days, it involved a lot of command lines and messing with SSH keys. It was painful. But today, we have EMR Studio, and that's like upgrading from an old manual factory floor to a sleek, modern control room. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's absolutely night and day. On the left, you've got the old way, command lines, manually managing security keys, everyone kind of working in their own little silo. But on the right, with EMR Studio, you get this beautiful web-based environment. You just log in using your normal company credentials, you can work with your teammates in real time on shared notebooks, and you can debug your jobs using actual user interfaces. It's a total game changer. So let's zoom in a little bit on this new control room. What are some of the key features that make it so powerful for data teams? First off, it is built for collaboration. This isn't a solo experience. You can have multiple people working in the same space, sharing code, sharing notebooks, and hooking everything up to a Git repository so all your code is versioned. This just completely eliminates that classic developer headache of, well, it works on my machine. And debugging? Oh, it gets a massive upgrade. Forget about digging through endless text log files on some remote server. Now, you can launch these rich, visual tools like the Spark History Server with just one click, right in your browser. You can see exactly what your job is doing, find bottlenecks, and figure out why something failed all without ever leaving that Studio interface. And the goodies don't stop there. EMR Studio is just packed with tools to make your life easier. You've got a SQL Explorer for poking around in your data, that seamless Git integration we mentioned, and even Amazon Code Whisperer. That's an AI coding assistant right there in your notebook, giving you code suggestions as you type. It's pretty amazing. Okay, With a data factory this powerful, you're going to need a really good security fence around it. So let's talk about how you protect your data and your infrastructure when you're using EMR. It really all boils down to this question, doesn't it? How do you make absolutely sure that only the right people and the right processes can get access to your data and your expensive compute resources? Security in EMR really rests on three core pillars. First, you have IAM roles. Think of this as permissions. It answers who can do what. Second, you have security groups. This is your network firewall. It controls how traffic gets in and out of your cluster. And third, you have encryption. This protects the actual what, the data itself, both when it's sitting still in S3 and when it's flying between the nodes in your cluster. So look, if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. Amazon EMR is your scalable, on-demand data factory. It gives you the raw power, and EMR Studio, that's your modern command center that makes all that power easy to use, collaborative, and secure for you and your whole team. We've seen how this works, how it can take these massive, messy data sets and turn them into pure gold. The infrastructure is there, the tools are ready to go. So the only question left is, what are you going to build first?